Has gone. Cormac, we wish you a good day, a good week, and lots of success in your scribblings over there on Margaret Street. Mark McGarrity, how are you? Constable.
Good morning, how are you?
You're South
Happy New
Armagh.
Year, South
Good
Armagh
to see
neighbourhood.
you. South Armagh Neighbourhood Police, which is very good. You've been excluded from the name of the council, for goodness sake, the new council.
Yes.
We were just talking about that to Cormac. He was saying that South Armagh and Gullion has been ignored. It's Newry Morning Down, same as it always. But South Armagh is bigger and Armagh is bigger. South Armagh is bigger than a mere name.
Yes.
Because you're self-evidently excellent out there. What are your issues out there at the moment, Mark?
At the moment, Rowan, we've had a lot of, not just in South Armagh, but across the whole of E District, we've had a lot of thefts from sheds. Now, it may not sound a lot to some people, however, people have some high-value items in them, down to maybe scrambler motorbikes for children, quads, pressure washers. So we're just telling people to try and stay alert.
Yeah, but
secure the shed as best they can.
If you're a sensible man, I like to think I'm a sensible man. If I had high-value items in a shed, I'd make sure it was well locked.
Yes.
And that's a starting point for the farming community, is it not?
Certainly, you can only do so much, but take as many precautions as you can, and obviously the likes of ultraviolet pens mark your postcode on your item, which is obviously invisible. To the thief, and then it will show up for return if we're lucky enough to get it.
Is it farms that these people are taking from, or is it garages in domestic situations?
A lot of domestic.
Really?
If they're going onto the farms, they're not really targeting the shed, they're targeting the trailer that's sitting in the yard with no wheel clamp on it. However, as you know, the trailer marking, I was speaking to you the last time I was on with you, the trailer marking is an ongoing thing and works well through the marts. But the high-value items as well, the trailer can be £3,000-4,000 to a farmer. It's also the inconvenience of losing it. But the shed theft is a big thing at the minute for us to try
that's ordinary folk in their ordinary homes.
It is.
Just to be careful.
It is.
It's burglary into the house.
Well, it's an extension of your house. Your shed's an extension of your house.
Absolutely.
So,
and what kind of people are doing this? They're not professional criminals, or are they?
I wouldn't say they're professional criminals, but obviously at the minute in a recession, criminality is possibly more rife at the moment than it would have been prior, so...
See, I think, I might be wrong here, but maybe it's the way Mrs. Hand raised me, but the last thing in the world I could get my head around would be robbing you.
Yes.
I just don't understand it as a concept, Mark. And there seems to be a genre of person out there for whom this is no earthly bother whatsoever.
It doesn't turn a hair on them as such, but it's... People feel it's a personal attack on them. When somebody has entered your property or part of your property, the victim feels, it's personal against them that they have been attacked, but it's not actually personal.
No, it's
random.
And that's one to remember, isn't it?
It's random, and it's sporadic,
and
it's obviously the weakest shed or the weakest lock that they have picked, so it's not actually specific and it's not personal.
I remember well, I was newly married, and this is an example of victim and how it affects people. I caught a fellow in my house in Daisy Hill Gardens, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I heard him, and I was in the house on my own, and I said, oh no, it couldn't be anybody. And then I heard the creak on the floorboard outside my bedroom door. I was a diver at the time and had a large sealed beam iron diving torch. And I went to the door and I had the torch, I opened the door and the torch caught him. And there he was, about 6 feet tall, thin, with a balaclava covering his face, and you can react right or you can react wrong. I think I did the right thing. I said, don't move. We're going now at the end of my arm down the stairs. If you do move, I will use this torch upon you. But do not make me do that. I didn't fight with him.
Yes.
I reasoned with him and I sat him down. Police came and took him away. And then I got thinking, maybe there's another guy with him in the house. And at that point, I started to search the house. And I found the sheath of my bone-handle scouting camping knife lying on the kitchen floor empty. And I wondered where the knife was. I discovered the knife under the armchair that I'd put your man sitting in. He had brought the knife upstairs with him. And if I had dealt with it in a way that was going to tussle, close contact, it would have been a disaster.
Different matter.
A different matter. Now, that guy got a 6-month sentence, suspended for 2 years. I still at 3 o'clock in the morning. If a fly hits my window pane, I know it, and I'm up and I'm checking. So I think people, the business of being a victim in that sort of situation has ongoing consequences for folk. And we want to try and minimize those as much as possible, because your message there You personally are not the one being targeted. It's a mere chance.
It's your property that they're targeting, not you personally.
Yeah. Other things happening in your patch at the moment?
We had a couple of public meetings in the last 6 weeks or so, Rowan, where people voiced that they weren't able to contact police as easily when you lose a police station. This was specific to Bessbrook area since the police station closed. So since then, we're trying to deploy the mobile police station once a month. And we have done it the last 2 months, a deployment once per month, and we put it into the square on a Saturday morning, obviously, when it's busy with shoppers.
Yes.
People can come in and visit us.
And that's happening where?
In Bessbrook.
In Bessbrook.
In the square in Bessbrook. Saturday mornings, one Saturday of the month. It's in the local press. What date will be there. And people have an opportunity to come in and talk to us, build up a relationship with us, meet the neighbourhood team. We bring our crime prevention officer out with us. We have a lot of literature and leaflets and information for people, so they can instill a bit of confidence in the community that they can come and talk to us.
Is that mobile the police station? Is that the one that has the wee prison in it as well?
Yes, like the cell in the back.
We get you in the back without a bother. Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah. No, it's very useful and can be taken anywhere. Can be taken to major incidents. You know, scenes of serious road traffic collisions.
Of course.
It's a very useful tool, and we hope to use it once a month, duties permitting. You know.
Well, indeed, this is the thing, because if you're doing that and sitting twiddling your thumbs, well, you're not twiddling your thumbs.
Yes.
Listening to people in Bessbrook's
you're listening to their problems and trying to problem solve with them, or instill a bit of confidence that you'll.
Yeah. Are there many bad guys about? Do you know what I'm saying to you? You're listening to people's problems. People are worried. People are concerned. Is the community out there relatively safe, or what you're calling?
Yes, I would say they're relatively safe. It's the person's perception is the problem. You know, if the person's in fear of crime, we will try and speak to them and allay their fears and give them advice. But yeah, there's bad guys everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
However, not specifically to South Armagh or E District in general, you know, but
so
it's people perception, and all we just try to do is build up a bit of confidence and let them lead.
But the bad guy,
life
you know, that thing up at Ballymoney, it was appalling.
Yes.
These fellows came into the house and pulled the man outside and beat him up and shot him in the leg, and he's dead.
Yes.
And then beat the girl, the lady that he was visiting. That's broadly speaking, you know, we need to keep being careful.
It's horrific
be sensible.
crime,
Yeah,
horrific. And then another matter raised at some of the public meetings, Rowan, was some of the schools and parents have raised that vehicles are speeding past schools at start time and finish time.
That's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, motorists should know to specifically be even lower than the normal speed limit outside of school, which is 30 in around Bessbrook, but we're going to deploy I don't know if you ever saw them, the trailer. If you've seen the trailer with the large signage,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So it's depicting your speed, you know, because you can gain speed sometimes in a built-up area and just basically nearly in gear, and freewheeling as such in gear, you know, it does go over the 30 and will educate people as opposed to endorsable.
But I think,
you know.
Mark, I think people need to be proactive and say, all right, it seems a low enough speed, but in terms of a dog running out in front of me, and if I can kill a dog, I can kill a child.
Yes.
That I need to think, can I stop? So when you're in Bessbrook or a small village or in a built-up area passing a school or whatever, my training as a member of the Institute of Advanced Motorists would tell me my thought process ticking inside my head is saying, what's behind that car?
Yes.
What's going to come around from behind that lorry? People need to think that way.
It's reading the road ahead. Some people don't see any further than the end of their bonnet. But as you say, if you read the road ahead and perceive any problems, it's easier to counter them and slow down or
of course, the
alter your
temptation is
path.
to be distracted. That's the awful thing, because if I see a pretty girl passing by, God help me and forgive me, and then I'm back on it. But I mustn't. That's even worse than the mobile phone, for God's sake, you know. But I mean, and I've had occasions when I've made a mistake and realised, goodness gracious, I was lucky there.
Yes.
And that teaches a big lesson. There's no two ways.
It's momentary for an accident.
Absolutely, that's what it happens in. Just in that split second. There's no two ways about that.
And then sort of following on from that, Rowan, as far as road safety and bits and pieces, we have a lot of cyclists, as you know, around Newry and South Armagh.
Of course, they're very enthusiastic.
Huge cycling clubs. So we have a new scheme which is ongoing called On Your Bike, which is basically an extension of, it's similar to Farm Watch. It's basically your bike gets marked with recognisable serial numbers and stickers. So we have already spoken to some of the bike clubs in our area.
Bikes can cost an awful lot of money.
Thousands of
5,000, 6,000,
thousands
more,
of pounds.
you know, depending on the thing.
So
there.
prevention's better than cure.
Absolutely,
So we're going to rule that out as well.
Yeah. If I may remind people of one thing, and this is a real hazard, if I may say this. If you're traveling on a bright day from Newry to Warren Point at about 11 o'clock in the day, when there is a bright sun in the eastern sky, that bright sun at that particular moment lays its beam along the motorway straight into your eyes. And I have time and time again seen cyclists on the road, not on the cycle path, cycling along merrily, not realizing that I'm coming behind them. I can't see, but because I'm being careful, I'm not going to kill them.
Yes.
But I mean, that's an awful, that is a trap that people, and some of the cyclists are quite determined to use the main body of the road. And should they be doing that?
They're legally entitled to use the road, you know, so if there's a cycle path there, obviously it's safer for them to use, but but it is very blind, the low sun, especially if there's a wet road.
You're gone.
It multiplies it again, the reflection of the wet road.
Absolutely, you know what I'm talking about.
It's very, very dangerous, the low sun on a wet road.
Yeah. I remember, and also the sort of vehicle you're driving. I remember the first time ever I drove a Mercedes. I felt as though I was sitting in an armchair at home. It was so comfortable. I had no sensation of speed on that same road until I got the flashing light behind me. Do you know you were doing this? And that's how I lost 3 points in my license 10 years ago.
Right.
It's an awareness of your vehicle, what it's able to do. And also, I suppose, Mark, that it's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. You do not have to, and it's not desirable, to go up to 29.5 miles an hour.
No, drive in accordance with the conditions of the road as well. You know, parking maybe outside schools isn't great at times. So the driver really needs to take that into consideration and not drive at the full speed limit, as you say, you know.
Yeah. What else have you got there?
That's
You're more
sort
or
of
less
up to date.
The
only thing I would try and push a bit more is neighbourhood watch.
Yeah. What exactly is neighbourhood watch? You marked was there one recently, it was the 101st or something like
that? The 100th.
The 100th.
The 100th. We had a sort of event before Christmas in relation to that, but it's basically an area, should it be a townland or wherever, that a group of residents can approach us, receive literature on neighbourhood watch, speak to one another among themselves. There then is a canvassing letter as such that they will drop to each of their neighbours' houses. You know, are you in fear of violence? Which type of crime are you in fear of? Then they gather all this information together. Someone acts as a coordinator for that neighbourhood watch. We then pass that information on, and then signage goes up to say this is a neighbourhood watch area and different poles in the area. Everyone has each one another's contact number.
Yes.
So if you were going on holidays, you would say to me, Mark, in case the police don't get out and about, I have told them I'm away on holidays, my alarm's on, would you keep an eye out just around my property?
Yes.
So each one another looks out for one another, and if they see something suspicious, they can report it direct into us.
And this isn't sort of country hillbillies with shotguns hidden in trees?
No,
nothing like that.
This is just people looking out for one another in their own community, in their own area, and liaising with themselves.
And also, I suppose, if you spot someone, especially in a country area, someone who's a stranger to the area on a back road somewhere, and maybe gone round a couple of times, he's not doing that for the good of his health. Well, he's casing the joint.
It's only a phone call to us, especially
101.
If they 101, speak to police, if possible, get their vehicle registration. And make. And we can check it out.
Always
we obviously can't
idea.
tell you the details of who's driving the vehicle, but we can say, yes, we have spoke with that driver or that company, that was a delivery or someone looking for a address, or no, actually that was something untoward and we're dealing with it, and we'll update the caller.
And you see, people are maybe embarrassed or diffident about making the call because, I'm ringing the police, they're going to think I'm a terrible nuisance. This is the second time this week they'll think I'm a nutcase.
That is how people think. However, 2 days later, if we were unfortunate for someone to ring 2 days later and there had been a burglary in that area 2 days before when they actually saw the vehicle, I would encourage people to, that's what we're there for. We're a public service. Ring us. That's our job. It's a phone call.
Who mans the 101?
It's call centres, and then they will send that call to the specific policing area within Northern Ireland, you know, the particular district or station.
That's probably why I got an Egypt once when I spotted a fire in the low hills of Omeath across from my front window. And I said to the fellow, there's a fire in the forest in Omeath, and it's serious, and there could be consequences. And I said, and this fellow said, well, it's not our jurisdiction. This was at the beginning of the 101.
Right.
And I said, that's irrelevant.
Pass it
Would
on.
you please pass this on or put me through to the right place? You know. But I mean, that's it. Call centres are great, but I mean, it's hard to beat
Speaking to somebody local.
the cop.
Somebody local.
The fellow who's been doing... Talking about local cop, how long have you been in the job?
Just over 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
And what did you do before that?
I was a maintenance fitter.
Were you?
Mm-hmm.
And what drew you in?
I had a few friends, basically were part-time at that stage.
Yeah.
And I would have been curious in work in the workplace with them. I would have asked them, what were you doing this weekend? They'd have said, we're out on foot patrol, or we're at a meeting, or doing checkpoints. And then an advertisement came up for the full-time reserve.
Yeah.
And myself and two of the guys that worked in the factory all applied, and we all got into that. And then I reapplied and got into the regulars.
But isn't it a funny thing? You more than when you were a fitter, you can sit down of an evening, not that you do, but you have the capacity to sit down, close your eyes and think, my goodness, over the 20 years I did bump, and it comes to mind, these are things I did within my community that have made a difference.
Yeah.
Have you, those are situations...
Well, you can, yes, especially from a neighbourhood perspective, yes.
Yeah. Was it always neighbourhood you were in?
No, I've done now about 10 years neighbourhood, and 10 years before that was response, and then the auto crime team when I was in West Belfast.
Yeah, West Belfast and South Armagh. Those who in other times would have been seen as punishment postings.
No, it's what you make it. It's what you make it yourself, and camaraderie and work with the public as best as you can.
That's what it's about. The protection of life and property.
That's correct. That's our job.
They're communicating with people.
That's right.
As I said to you, when I left sea, I was with the Merchant Navy, with Marconi, taking bananas out of Africa and general cargo out to the Far East, and copra and rubber and the like back to the UK. When I left that, I said, what am I going to do? And I thought, I'll join the Met. And I applied and was accepted for the Met. On the week I was due to report to Hendon to commence my training, I got a grubby little brown envelope from the Frontier Sentinel in Newry, and it said, we have a job because we know you're interested in writing. I went to journalism instead, not because of any great love of literature or literacy. It meant I could stay at home with the girlfriend, and that's what held me. But I understand the concept of good policing, and it's something sacred at the heart of our community. And thank you for being part of it.
Thank you, Ron, again.
Come again to us, won't you?
I will indeed. Thank
Mark,
you.
God bless you. That's Mark McGarrity from the neighbourhood policing operation in the South Armagh area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go well. Take care.
Destination Newry.